As a charity, we've been operational for 13 years now, and we work with children who have experienced domestic abuse, essentially, and have been violated, mostly within the family home. So it's a very serious, very serious subject. But the way in which we work is that we work with families to try and deal with the consequences of trauma that's been experienced by children. We provide a therapeutic learning environment, very much involved with practical activities. So we have a small farm, and we get children and families involved in practical activities as part of a therapeutic aim. So to work with rebuilding relationships and building children's self-esteem and helping children to overcome the effects of trauma. I've been, just moving away from that for a moment, I've been very struck by the fact that I'm talking before prize giving here, and I wonder how you're all feeling, because I've been walking around sort of just listening, not sort of purposefully listening, but I've been walking around listening, and I've been hearing people saying, how do you think you did today? And a lot of people say, well, actually not very well, and I could have done better, and actually it wasn't that good at all. And I thought, well, you can't all be right. I know there's going to be some prizes, but I'm guessing that not all of you are going to receive prizes today. Is that the case? Okay. The important point of this is that it's how you deal, in a sense, with things not going the way that you expected them to go. And I'd like you to actually think of two things. I'd like you to contemplate how it would be if you always felt that whatever you were going to do, whatever you've done, isn't going to work. It just isn't going to work. You've got no confidence in your own ability to do anything. How would that feel? I think that would be a very difficult thing to move out from, as a feeling. And I'd also like you to ask yourselves, really, how you would feel, how do you feel when you're surprised by something may be quite unpleasant. For instance, if you were in bed one night and you heard a noise, and you weren't expecting to hear a noise, and you go downstairs and you think, crikey, what's this that I'm... So what's happening to your body? You're probably going into a very, very difficult feeling. And you find the cat's just knocked over the biscuit tin, probably, something as simple as that. But actually, if you add those two things together, feeling that whatever you do, you just can't, whatever you try to do, you can't succeed, you're just not going to be possible to succeed. And this idea that you're always in tension, that's the way how traumatized children feel. And in fact, what we've discovered, what has been known for quite a long time, is actually that the traumatized child's brain development is slightly different to the brain development for kids who have an all right upbringing. And what happens is that the traumatized child will engage their primitive brain function because the other brain functions haven't developed sufficiently. So essentially, this is about fight, flight, or freeze. And these are the commonplace experiences of children who've had a very, very tough life. They go in and out of this phase all the time, as well as feeling that they're not any good. For a long time, it was thought that brain development happened within about 18 months, and if you didn't get your brain developed properly within that period, then things weren't going to be good. But I sense that the William Waits Memorial Trust trustees have a different view. And they have seemed to have the view that actually children can develop at a later stage, and they can move forward out of trauma and become more adjusted to a healthy life circumstances at a different age, and they're right. What's now been found is that actually you can start to work later on with children to reverse not to reverse, but to build on the brain's resources to restore children out of trauma. William Waits Memorial Trust know this, And that's why they are supporting charities like Dandelion Time to work with children to really build on the development of children's thinking to enable them to overcome trauma. I'd like to give you a couple of brief cases, just so you can get a feel for the way that Dandelion works, and also to get a feel for the way that society treats children who have been traumatized. We worked with a 6-year-old boy recently who had been excluded, permanently excluded from school twice. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Permanently excluded from school twice for being incredibly violent and aggressive. This boy cleared classrooms. The classrooms were cleared of all the other pupils, and the classrooms were made safe. He was locked in classrooms sometimes just to control this wild child of 6 years old. You can't even begin to think how damning that would be for a child when they later grow up to see they've actually failed in two school placements at such an early age. So this child came along to Dandelion, and we found out that he was struggling with the trauma of having a violent dad, who had been very violent, drug-induced violence as well, and he wanted to look after his mum. And he saw mum as being on his side and everybody else as being the enemy, and thinking about the fight and flight and freeze, he would do these things, but a lot of fighting. And through working with mum, helping him to see that mum could be safe, and through gently building his confidence and self-esteem, through practical work around the farm and working with animals, he could start to develop a sense of empathy, of caring, and he slowly began to develop capacities to heal. And he's now back at school. He's now back at school full-time, no problems. He's had no problems since he finished with us, which was about 6 months ago. So far, so good. Last weekend, we were at a county show. We were waving a flag for Dandelion Time, as you do. And somebody came up to me and said, "Graham, hello." And I said, "Hello." "Actually, who are you?" And she said, "Do you remember me? I'm Annie." And I didn't. You know, we've worked with hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of children. No, I didn't remember her. But she said, "Well, my boy, we'll call him Mark. My boy Mark, do you know, he's an electrician now. It's incredible. He's done so well. I don't know how he did it. But when he came to Dandelion, something changed in his life." And so I rushed back to the office and dug out the files to try and work out who this boy Mark was and what had happened. And there we are. There was a boy who had had a terribly traumatic past with violence, and he had been uncontrollable. But in the file, and actually when I spoke to her, I didn't say this bit, when I spoke to her, I said, "What do you think made the difference?" And she said, "It was that farmer you employ." I said, "Oh yes." And she said, "Yeah, he was really brilliant. He was just level with him, and he showed him that actually you don't have to be soft to be caring." Very interesting, wasn't it? Because he was quite a hard-nosed guy, actually. But he showed him that actually you can start to release your feelings in a safe way and start that process of healing. So that is what we do. Thank you so much for your support. We are a small charity. Please don't forget small charities. We are at a point in time when small charities are a bit like Sundays used to be. Anybody remember how Sundays used to be? I'm not religious, but you know, we used to enjoy Sundays as a time of complete rest, didn't we, before we got taken over. And small charities are under threat in a kind of similar way. So look out for us. Please support us, and please support all the charities that William Waite's Foundation supports. It's really important. And keep an eye out for them and know that they, more than ever before, need your support. Thank you.